Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So this is me having an interview post the Women's Conference. Thank you so much for the love and support that you guys have shown me. Enjoy the interview.
29 minutes to 1, we are together on this edition of Power Zone. It is a Wednesday morning, the 17th of August, 2022. I feel like someone tweeted something that was very relatable to me. They said the year really went January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and now we're in August. Like somehow the wind just blew through those months, and we are already far past the middle of August, and the year is going away with us. But I don't want us to despair because there is some inspiration for us to maybe grab some time and reflect. We're going to be jumping straight into a conversation with Perseverance Marameni, who's an electrical engineering technician, a fashion designer, a motivational speaker, as well as a digital content creator, who will be talking to us about her inaugural annual women's conference that she hosted over the past weekend, and just telling us, first of all, why. It is the why for me, because in as much as it is Women's Month, there must be some neck to the conversations we're having, and maybe let's find these gaps to inspire each other. Perseverance, good morning.
Good morning, Musa. How are you doing?
I am well. Thank you so much for giving us your time. It is so early.
Yeah, no, you know what? Sleep is for the dead, hey?
Oh, wow. Also, rest is very healthy for us. But yes, I definitely understand where you're coming from. Tell us,
Yeah.
before we jump into this gargantuous event that you had and the impact that you seem to be having on other women around you, let's talk about who Perseverance is.
Perseverance is just a village girl from Hamashamba. I was born and bred there. I did, and then I went and studied electrical engineering at the Durban University of Technology. And I went and worked for the power utility that is everybody's least favorite in South Africa. Yeah, so amongst other things, I've been doing electrical engineering technician stuff, and I've been a fashion designer since 2016, a self-taught at that, and a motivational speaker and just a content creator. So yeah.
That's a lot of hats to wear for one person. How are we balancing the fashion? And I mean, the fashion I can attest to. I've seen your content. I know that that is a fact. The
Yeah.
motivational speaking as well. We can definitely attest to that. The mere fact that you are hosting the women's conference is testament to your work as a motivational speaker. We've seen you on social media platforms, and you're also an engineer. How for me is the question? How are you balancing all these hats?
It doesn't even feel like work, hey. It's the same as you saying, how do you bath every morning or how do you brush your teeth every morning? It's just part of the routine, you know. So it really is just so effortless. It's just part of the day.
If it's part of the day, then I need you to
Yeah,
to share some of your energy with other people, because there are people who are barely coping, just managing two titles in their lives. But inspiration as that is, I want us to jump straight into the women's conference, right? Where did the
yeah,
concept come from? And while we're at it, we should maybe think of, and I'm saying this because as Women's Month is upon us, there's a lot of people who will look like they support women, but they can probably just say that in words, maybe just post a poster on their social media platforms. But you seem to have
yeah,
had some really strong sponsors supporting the event, and that for me is where the real support is, right? When people put their money where their mouths are.
yeah,
So let's
yeah.
let's talk about where the concept came from and who was supporting you, who's supporting you on this journey.
So Musa, because it's effortless me being this content creator that I am, I post a lot of videos while I'm sitting in the car because that's where I have to like dig deep into my creative juices, and I'm just thinking I'm in the zone. So because of that, a lot of people would always follow my content based on just me sharing my thoughts. And they would always complain to say, well, you know what, the content that you're sharing is not enough. Can you at least, expand? And I would do that in other social media platforms where I try to get as much out of me as I can. But still, people would say that is not enough because, for some reason, people are getting healing from the type of content that I share.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, listen, maybe you should consider getting us together. So after the whole lockdown thing, the levels, the restrictions were lifted, I was like, listen, this is the time for me to actually gather this woman and see that behind all these accounts on all these social media platforms is actually real people. It's not just robots. And this weekend was proof that actually it's real people behind all these accounts that are following me. Sorry about that.
So in this case, and I mean, this is now someone whose own career is not budding, is blowing up now as a social media content creator. That people have
Mm.
now asked for more, to the point where we are no longer behind our screens, but we're now having these conversations face to face.
Yeah.
Who are these women? Who are these people that are in your attendance? Who are the people that want to be gathered together?
For some reason, initially I used to think that it's just a group of people because when I check things like your Instagram, I would see like when you check the analytics and you see that the age group of people who are following you. So I honestly thought it was people between the late 20s and the early 30s until this past weekend where I saw even people who are as old as my mother who are following me on the social media platforms and actually wanted to see me in real life. And also, I got so many people who would say to me, listen, I drove all the way here from Uppington, from your Kurumane. I could not believe it. So basically, it's just everybody from everywhere.
So your reach is now national. You're no longer just a village girl from Hamashamba. We have to erase that title.
Yeah.
You're now a South African humble villager. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, I've really still doing big things now. It's just too bad that because it was local, there's so many people from neighboring countries who couldn't be there. But in terms of the people who are following me on the socials, it's people even beyond the South African borders.
That's impressive, because this gives you an opportunity for growth. This gives the women's conference a platform to, enlarge the stage, involve more women, because you initially wanted this to be a one woman show. And I don't know what
Yeah.
the thinking there was. Maybe you didn't know if people would support and want to share the stage. But the idea at first was to have a one woman show. That the poster still says one woman show, but there's a lot of people on that poster,
Yeah.
right? How did we
Yeah.
move from one woman show to having a full lineup of speakers?
All right, because when I initially did the poster, I thought to myself, okay, because people want to see me, they want to hear what I have to say. Let me just do a one-woman show. That was the intention, right? But because No Man is an island, and I know that I'm also still learning so much from so many people, when now people started approaching me, because immediately after I put out a poster and I said, I'm doing a one-woman show, I want to gather women, then so many people came through. They're like, listen, we want to partner with you. We want to do this. We want to have something to say. So I was like, listen, I'm not even going to remove that one woman show on my poster because I want this to be known that the vision, this is where it started. Okay, this is where, and as much as now it's like a full on board of more than 10 speakers, it needs to be known that this was just the power of you being able to say, listen, I'm available and I want to be reachable and I want to change lives. It can actually attract more people who have the same vision as you and as you.
So where to from here? Where to from the first annual one? Where are we waiting
Yeah.
for next year, August, to have the next women's conference? I know men have a very fictional men's conference that happens
Yeah,
every
an imaginary one.
an
No, no, no,
imaginary
we're not.
one. We're not doing imaginary things here.
No,
So
no, no.
where
We're
to
doing
where
big
to
things,
from here?
honey. We're doing big things. I'm definitely gonna be having another event, not the one women's conference, because that is very, very that one I don't want to tamper with it. I'm definitely gonna have it annually, but I'm still gonna have something before we get to the second annual because I need to launch my book, and people are still trying. They're saying that the time that we had there was not enough. And also some people in other provinces and other cities are saying, listen, we still want something. So the plan is actually to do a series of these type of events where women are gathered together and we're just pouring into each other's cups. And because they are complaining that the time was not enough, I'm hoping that at least if I can do a city-to-city tour and have 2-3 speakers, at least it will give me enough time to actually have a one-on-one with the people who will be there.
That makes a lot of sense. I want us to track back a little bit, Perseverance. I want us to go back to the why, right? And not only towards the women's conference alone, but to your work in general. You have taken on the role of being a motivational speaker. You've taken on the role of inspiring other women to the point of structuring events like these. But where did the inspiration for you come from to motivate other women to even start this kind of content, to start sharing your thoughts? Why did we get to that point?
Most of the type of content that I create is nothing new under the sun. Okay, this is something that has always been there, but nobody had the guts, if I may put it that way, to speak about these things. And the danger of me realizing that actually nobody wants to speak about this in as much as it's something which is out there is that means that my kids now have to suffer when they have to find out information which I'm sharing now. So I thought to myself, listen, nobody has to suffer any more than I already have. And I will make sure that the type of content that I'm going to be creating now is things that I wish somebody could have told me, somebody could have said to me. But because nobody did that, I'm going to be the change that I want to see so that nobody else has to suffer the way that I did with the type of information that I'm putting out there.
And what do you usually motivate people on? Because I remember there's one video in particular that I saw that really touched my heart. It was a very tear-jerking, very honest, very brutal and vulnerable chat that you were having around, I think it was loss of property or having to move back somewhere, but basically having to readjust your life. And you owned that conversation with so much soul that, you know, in as much as we were sad on your behalf, we were all very inspired to admit that life is not all rosy, right? And I say this because social media, for the most part, was designed to present our glorious lives, for us to present our, you know, our best foot forward, our best fashion, you know, our new cars, our new homes. You were going the opposite direction and doing it with so much grace.
Yeah. I had to put out the information about me getting divorced. This is something very unusual because people don't want to speak about that. People only want to bounce back and say, listen, last year this time I was going through the most. So I decided that, listen, I'm going to speak openly about me losing everything through divorce, so that if anybody wants to now go through that route of getting married and doing this and that, they should know that it's not always roses. Because I also got in there understanding that it's all about, you know, beautiful things only to find out that, no, it's not about that. So I made a sound decision that I'm going to share regardless of who says what or whether people take it positively or not. But as long as I feel fulfilled when I do it, I'm going to share every single thing that I want to share about the process of being married and being divorced and how it's not always also roses.
You mentioned that you're writing a book, Perseverance. You want to launch your book in your, you know, alongside your next series of motivational speeches or conferences that you want to host. What is the book about?
It had to happen. Because like I said initially that there's absolutely nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new that I'm going through, but the only difference is that I had the guts to speak about it. And I believe that the courage that I had and the vitality that I had to just share and speak about the things that I'm speaking about, it didn't just happen simply because I like attention too much or whatever. Because, like I said initially, that there are so many people who came out to me to say, listen, we learned so much from you and we are bouncing back and we are doing this and that simply because we are listening to you and we're getting encouraged. So now it makes sense to me why all these things that happened to me had to happen, because now as I'm standing in front of more than 500 women who trusted me for the first time to say, we want to listen to you, we want to hear what you're saying, it simply means that it really had to happen for a reason.
You said more than 500 women. Are you talking about the attendance of your conference?
Yeah. More than 500 women were in attendance.
That is a huge number of people, and I say this because I mean the conference itself was not free. It had a price tag on it, and people put their hands in their pockets and actually put that money out to come and support. That is a very huge number. If going forward you want to host more of these conferences, how are you going to make sure to get these kinds of numbers, not only business wise, but to make sure that you are reaching the masses that you target to reach?
I realized that actually for me to do these things is going to be so effortless, because if I could pull off the first one and get the sponsors that I got, like big sponsors, Musa, I don't see myself stopping, and I don't see anything stopping me, because now with me having to do the first one and it being so successful, it simply means that there's absolutely nothing that can stop me now. The only thing would just mean that I will have to get a bigger venue every time when I have to do these things.
This has also opened up some doors and opportunities for you. I was listening to the other podcast. I don't know if we're allowed to mention it, but it's quite a huge platform for people like you who are calling yourselves just a village girl from Amashamba to be granted opportunities to partner with such large platforms. How did that opportunity come about, and what is your role in that speaking opportunity?
I'm very much accessible on social media because I believe that I need to amplify my voice. So people literally are just, approaching me to say, because of this type of content that you're creating, you have, like a lot of ladies in these social streets and also in these businesses, they take my content for their own consumption, right? And once that changes their life, they feel like, listen, we need to amplify this. I know that I'm not the only one who needs to hear this. So people have been approaching me in that regard to say, listen, not only have you changed my life, but you've changed my mother, my sister. So I want you to actually change somebody else's life, my audience and this and that. So that's how people get to approach me. And I'm always, like I said, I'm always available. As long as it says something about empowering women, about amplifying somebody, about making somebody a better person, I'm always available.
We are in conversation with Perseverance Marameni, who goes popularly on the social media streets by the name of Madam Speaker, who hosted her first annual women's conference over the past weekend that seems to have gathered a lot of numbers. I was unaware that it was, that well attended. This is very, very impressive, and I think props to you. And I think a lot of work needs to go into the next one, because I think now we must be gunning for 1,005 women in a room for us to, to impart all of this knowledge. Because like you said, it's very authentic, it's very real. It's original. It is one person telling you their life experiences. And this is the beauty of social media these days, that it's no longer about, the perfect picture and the rosy lifestyles. It's also about, leaning on each other to actually learn from life experiences. Give us a call on 0861 987 000 to weigh in on this conversation, and maybe just to also ask Perseverance any questions that you might have. Perseverance, I have one more question, and I think this is in the line of the work that you do, exposing so much of your life to viewers, to people on social media. You mentioned that you have children yourself. So as a mom who is sharing all of this content out there to the world, how do you prepare yourself, your family, your children for any backlash that might come through? Because we know that that's the nature of social media, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I think I was built differently, because the type of backlash, because I get it on a daily basis. I'm called so many names, man hater, I'm bad influence, I want people to leave their marriages. But because of the way that I'm wired, all of that doesn't even do anything to me anymore, because I think the vision is louder than any other noise that I'm hearing from out there. So that doesn't do anything to me. And also with my kids, because I recommend therapy. I've been attending therapy from way before I could even start with the divorce process. And my kids, because they're still so young, I'm a very open person. I'm very open, even with my kids. I do tell them that, listen, this is the reality of my life. And also, because they have their own relationship with their dad, I always make sure that I make them understand that, listen, just because me and your dad are not together anymore, we don't love each other anymore, this is what I'm doing for myself, this is what your dad is doing for himself. It doesn't make me love you any less. This is just me living my life, and I also encourage you to always do what you love.
And I mean, this is also one of the hottest topics that people will continuously have about blended families, right? That, the mom, for the most part, will say very negative things about the father once they split. Yeah. What's that approach for you, and how are you navigating that space? And I mean, I know it's quite fresh for you. You're still having these conversations. You're still probably navigating this yourself. But how are you navigating the space where your children need to now know or are asking questions about the nature of your relationship with their father, and just maybe to also talk to the questions and concerns that arise around people not allowing the father of the children to be his best self. I'm very experienced at this, so I might be asking the question wrong.
Yeah. You know what, Miss? I always give an example. I always reflect on my own relationship with my dad. I have the best relationship with my dad, and my dad, as a father, there's no dad out there. I dare you. I double dare you to bring all your dads here. There's no man who will ever compare to that man as a dad. But I don't know much about him as a husband. So I would like to believe that my ex-husband, as a dad to my kids, because my kids love him so much, I would like to believe that he's doing a good job. Should they grow up and decide that they see him in a different light as they do right now, it's entirely up to them. I'm not going to get involved. Somebody even asked me the other day to say, what are you doing to make sure that your kids don't look at your ex in a very bad light or whatever? And I said to that person that that's not my responsibility. I'm still busy momming here. I'm being a mom. So if he decides that he wants to be a good dad, he will be a good dad to his kids, and they will decide for themselves if they even want to compare the two of us, if they want to see him as a good dad and see me as a good mom. But at the end of the day, I can only do my part, and I can always make sure that I don't get involved much in their relationships, because I don't want to influence them in any way. I want them to grow up and decide for themselves if this relationship is working for them or not.
I wanted to ask and just find out from you, especially because we are speaking about this conversation now, where a lot of people have the same notion of, as Africans, we are, especially African women, right, that we are discouraged from leaving relationships because it's one of those things that we people may have made some really grave, what do you call it, similarities to the situation where you'd rather just stick through the marriage than split it or then come back home to your parents. Where do you come in as a motivational speaker, especially someone who has experienced divorce and speaks quite boldly about your moves afterwards?
Most of the childhood traumas that we are healing from right now, and the people that we speak to and engage with on a daily basis, the childhood traumas that they're healing from are things which happened while they're still kids, right? So that to me says that because I have a lot of work to do on myself and with people around me, I don't want to see that on my kids. I would like my kids to heal from something that I did not influence or something that was beyond my control, because the last kick of a dying horse for me was when I was sitting in the shower and I was just sitting, like literally sitting down. And when my kids came in and they were standing by the shower door, by the shower glass, and they were telling me to get up, I was like, I'm not going to have this. Fortunately enough for me, because my kids are so young, the oldest is like 8 and then the other one is 4. When all of this was happening, the other one was 3 and the other one was 7. So they hardly ever even remember that day. But for me, I felt like, if I allow something like this to go on, that means that I'm now saying that let the chain of these childhood traumas, which are going to now make my kids become certain things, let them continue. So I'm going to break that. If it means that there must be other traumas that my kids have to deal with, which are beyond my control, it's okay. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to watch myself I didn't bring these kids to this world so that I can just influence them to have traumas that I could have controlled and avoided at a young age.
So in that case, Perseverance, you bring up some very difficult notions, and I'm gonna say this especially as a black young generation, right? Where therapy, one, was not normalized for a lot of us, and secondly, our parents have probably never ever spoken to a therapist. Where do we start breaking that cycle of, one, not openly talking, and two, making it a point that people talk to professionals? Do we go back to our parents and say, let's go talk about my childhood traumas that you probably caused? That sounds a little bit accusatory, right? Making your parents maybe feel a little bit guilty. Or does it just start with me silently taking my own therapy sessions and healing and maybe just moving in the world differently? It becomes very difficult because if we want to break the childhood traumas, the generational traumas, then we must involve the other generations as well, right? Be it our kids or our parents. Somehow those 2 or 3 generations need to come together.
Yeah, we have a lot of work. Us, this generation, we have a lot more work than the previous generation and the generation that's coming after us, because those that came before us are not willing to do the whole therapy thing, right? And there's absolutely nothing that we can do about that. So now that means that we have to heal from everything that we went through without anybody saying I'm sorry, anybody acknowledging their wrongs. We just have to dig deep into that. And also at the same time, we have a bridge to actually cross to make sure that our kids never sit and accuse us of doing to them what our parents did to us. They never have to heal from what we are healing from. So that's why I'm saying that from where we're standing, we have a lot more work to do. But it's not impossible for it to be done. It's too bad that we can't get our parents. Like I'm saying, I said that my dad is one of a kind, is one person who's very, I think I took it from him. He's very open, he speaks, and he's one person that you will have a conversation with and you will be healed after that. But it's not a lot of these parents who are like that. So that means that now, that's why I'm saying we have a lot of work, because now it has to start from us healing from things that nobody ever apologized for and making sure that our kids never have to be where we are now. But I strongly recommend therapy. And I know that a lot of people can't attend therapy, not because they don't want to, but because they don't afford it and they don't even understand what it is. That's where people like me come in. That's where I'm encouraged to even amplify my voice even more, to say I know that there are people who the only therapy that they're going to get is me speaking, and I'm not going to stop until they get that therapy.
And maybe that's also a good suggestion, Perseverance, because in all honesty, therapy itself is not cheap. for those who are paying for it out of pocket. For those who are maybe accessing therapy sessions from public facilities, those therapists are fully booked. They are, what's the word? There's way more patients than there are. Exactly. So it becomes very difficult for people to think of even taking that first step towards therapy. So maybe we should also start suggesting people find healing in other types of conversations versus therapy, right? Where therapy is not easily accessible. Find a podcast, find a book, find a motivational speaker, attend these events, and maybe find some inspiration there, or find some, I don't know, some life building nuggets of wisdom from people like Perseverance. But I wanted us to talk about a little bit about fathers, right? You speak very fondly of your dad, that there are lessons to be learned from other men, right? And I say this, when I say other men, I mean it exactly like that, because we live in a men are trash, world. It's a commonly used phrase. It's a commonly felt sentiment. But we know that when we say that, we're not saying all men are trash. However, the general population of man is where the evil we have experienced has come from, right? Let's talk about how we highlight the men that are in our lives and make those experiences more heard and more seen. That way they also inspire other men, because it creates a perpetual cycle where when someone is trying to be a good man, all they're hearing is men are trash. How do we use platforms like yours to actually praise examples of men that we've seen out there that are actually supportive, that are available, that are, good examples of fathers, good examples of husbands, good examples of boyfriends even?
Like I said initially, that my dad as a dad, he's awesome. He's great. No dad can compare. But I don't know about him as a husband. I don't know about him as a brother. I don't know about him as a son. So with the type of content that I create, with him being my biggest cheerleader, I do believe that some of the content that I share, he could do some self-introspection maybe. But at the end of the day, if you are a good man, you should not be intimidated, or you should not take offense of somebody who is calling out certain behavior which is not right. Because the minute you want to defend certain behavior and you say not all men, not all this, then that means that the shoe is fitting. Musa, it's the same as saying Black Lives Matter. When we say Black Lives Matter, we're not saying that all other lives don't matter. We're only saying that at this very moment, because we realize the urgency of us attending to these issues which Black people are facing, we should be able to have initiatives like Black Lives Matter. But at the same time, we're not saying that all other lives don't matter. But if you fail to support that, if you fail to see that and acknowledge that and want to be part of that and do something about it, then that means that you're part of the problem, So the same thing applies to men are trash. Men are trash. Okay, but not all men are trash. But the minute somebody says, "Well, not all men," then that's the leader of the trash. That's the leader of the trash right there. So what we're saying now is that you should be able to. It's just too bad that the recording for my women's conference is not out yet, because I did even have couples on the day where there was one couple, Advocate Raja and his wife, also Advocate Raja. They were speaking as a joint couple, right? And that man was speaking so much about how we acknowledge the pain that we have caused women. And I see so many women crying on this platform. Women are sharing their painful stories, and that is not right. Something has to change, you see. So that means that if every man, or if all men could listen to the cries of women, then we would have less stress. But the minute men decide that they don't want to listen because they want to shut their ears because not all men, then we're not going to get anywhere. We're still going to be having stress for the longest time.
Can we also use, and I mean, as we close Perseverance, can we also use platforms like yours to address where women are being trashed too? Can we talk about definitely. Women who are toxic, women who are not contributing to building the family or building the relationship or building the world?
Yeah. I'll give you a simple example, Musa. There was one video that I did where I was addressing women who don't work, who are staying in toxic relationships and marriages simply because they don't have a plan B. And I was saying that, do you honestly believe that somebody would love you and appreciate you if you're staying with them, not because you love them, but you're staying with them simply because you don't have anywhere to go, you don't have food. So that person sees you as a subordinate. So that person doesn't see you as a companion. They see you as somebody who wants to suck them dry. And they will always neglect you. They will always see you in some type of way because they understand that you're not staying with them because you love them. You're staying with them because of your money. So I strongly encourage you as a woman to get up, to work for yourself, to do things for yourself so that when you choose to stay in a relationship, you're not staying because you don't have a plan B, because the person that you're staying with, because you don't have a plan B, knows that, and they will always resent you because of that. You understand what I mean?
I definitely do. Perseverance, we've run out of time. So sad that we have, and I wish we could have this conversation much longer. I think what I want us to look out for is your next women's conference. Let's see how we can, tap into that conversation. Let's listen to the conversations you're giving to people out there, because I think a 60-second video is definitely not enough. Let's tell the world where we can find you, because I mean, I follow you on social media, but other people might be listening to you right now thinking, where do we get a little bit more of this information?
Yeah, so across all social media platforms, I am Madam___speaker. And yeah, that is me, Madam Speaker, across all social media platforms.
Beautiful. And you really are the Madam Speaker. I think Parliament needs a new Madam Speaker, and I would definitely appoint you, or at least suggest your name and push the envelope as far as I possibly can. Thank you so much for giving us your time this morning.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Definitely. That is Perseverance Marameni, aka Madam___speaker.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.